Hey everybody and welcome to Dude's Brunch. I'm your host Taylor. With me as always we got Sean and Tyler. Tyler, what did you have for brunch today?
Anchovy Pizza.
Did you
Wow,
really?
I bet that's foreshadowing.
No, but I was like, I had planned on eating anchovy pizza sometime this week, and so I guess today happened to be the day because I ran out of days. So I was like, man, I can't eat a pizza alone. So I drove over to my girlfriend's house, and I was like, all right, Catherine, can we like play a board game? Can I also order a pizza? Like, sure, I guess.
The things your girlfriend does for this.
Catherine just enabled you to. Well, no, Catherine's integral to this show now. Basically,
She's
that's
like,
what we
I'll
learned from
order
this
it for
show.
you. I'm like, great. And I was like Googling while I was driving. I was like, I don't know what to put on this. And she's like, I was like, bell peppers. And she's like, yeah, 2 more toppings. I was like, mushroom, onion. No sauce, left beef. I don't know.
I don't even know how to feel about this. Okay.
You
That's
don't-
like, is that like the anchovy supreme? And the picture for it is like a little anchovy with a little crown on,
That's right.
holding a scepter.
I guess.
If it's not now, it will be by next week when Tyler makes it a t-shirt.
That's right.
So
Up in Akron, Sean, what did you have for brunch today?
I went to Wally Waffle this morning, and I had the spicy quesadilla, which was a flour tortilla with egg and chorizo and pepper jack cheese and Wally fries, which is essentially just hash browns made on the stovetop. It was really good. A little local chain up here in Akron. Good food. That's where I had the churro waffles a few months ago when I was talking about it. They have churro waffles there.
This place sounds amazing.
Yeah, please come up to Cleveland and eat our breakfast foods. This
Nice.
ad was not paid for or endorsed by the city of Cleveland or Akron.
Well, this morning for brunch I had a smoothie because I'm doing this smoothie
What?
thing. What?
No.
Oh, yeah, Tyler got me on this. Tyler and a few other people got me on the smoothie train, and I'm digging it. I'm down with the smoothie train. So yeah, bananas, yogurt, granola, milk, solid smoothie, and of course some coffee. So now that we've gotten the breakfast food part out of the way, this is a podcast about breakfast food and pop culture, and boy oh boy do we have lots and lots of pop culture to talk about tonight, and also some more food. We didn't even decide who wanted to go first, so
Doesn't matter.
Want to go first?
I'll go first. Let's do it.
You got it.
Alrighty, so as our audience knows, we enjoy Futurama. I recently rewatched the episode Fishful of Dollars, in which Fry checks his bank account and realizes he has like $5 billion, and then proceeds to spend all of it, mostly on a can of anchovies because they have gone extinct. And so this prompted the idea of, you know, I've never had anchovy pizza before. I wonder how awful it is. And so I went on to Google and I YouTubed it a little, and I was just like, anchovy pizza, let's see what's up here. And it's like a bunch of like little kids and like teens like, oh, this is
Hashtag teens.
this is gonna be some dank memes. We're gonna eat some anchovy pizza. It's gonna be so gross. Oh, and they like try it and they're like, it's just a little salty. So, you know, I'm like, well, let's see what this is. Anchovy pizza is actually one of the first original ingredients for pizzas until it got booted out by the pepperoni, which I can see why now. So what I wanted to know is if you guys have ever tried anchovy pizza, what'd you think of it? No? Not even
No.
once?
And what should
No.
you review next?
Taylor?
No, I have never eaten anchovy pizza.
Where did you find this at? Where did you order from that had anchovy?
Literally any place. They all have it.
Really?
And the reason why they have it is because it's easy to maintain because it's a canned fish.
The reason that I say that is because I worked for a pizza place and we didn't have anchovies.
What place was it?
Pizza Pogo.
Oh, well, is it local?
Yeah, it's like Akron, Cleveland kind of deal.
Well, I mean, like, I got it from Papa John's. So I
Okay,
mean, it's
okay,
like-
yeah, they would. I was just curious because I haven't actively ever sought out anchovies on anything.
Yeah, it's actually pretty common. They mostly keep it just for historic stake more than like at people actually liking it. So,
That would
uh,
make me afraid to order it.
I had it. It was salty, and I was like, this is completely okay. It wasn't like, oh, this is terrible. Oh. I had breakfast hot pockets. So I mean, what do you want from me?
What you're saying is your life is already in the shitter, so eating some
Right.
fish on some pizza wouldn't be that bad.
I mean, Fry did say you have to try it more than once. Like the second time you try it, you end up liking it. Which I mean,
Because I take all of my food recommendations from cartoon characters.
I do.
Why not?
I drink
I-
at least 10 cans of Slurm every day until I had my first heart attack.
You can't tell me there isn't like a food on like a cartoon or a show that you tried because it looked good on the cartoon or show, right? Come on.
You never had a craving for burgers because you watched Bob's Burgers or SpongeBob or anything like that?
Actually, no, Bob's never makes me want to eat burgers.
Well, to be fair,
I don't know why.
they kind of make it unappetizing. That's kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
No, the only food that I've ever seen like on something that I wanted to eat is in V for Vendetta when they fry the egg in the center of a piece of toast.
There you go.
Oh.
And that's just because it's faster than frying an egg and making a piece of toast. Like, I know what those two things taste like.
Make that your next week challenge. I challenge you to make those two separately. Making those two separately at the same time is quicker than making them together.
Wait, so you're telling me you didn't watch like that? Watch Pokemon at all, and you saw them eat donuts, and you didn't like? I want to see. That doesn't look like a donut at all. I want to try that.
What are you even talking about?
It's a triangle with the little black spot in it. Catherine, you tell him. Get mad at him.
Yeah, get mad at me on Twitter, Catherine. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Clearly, you didn't watch enough Pokemon. It's okay.
Taylor
It's like,
doesn't
it's like a
watch
fucking
food on
joke.
television at all. You weirdo.
Whatever.
It's like an anime joke. They they insert like American food into like Japanese like food. Like it's clearly not a donut, but they call it a donut, and you're like
Because the cartoon is Japanese.
yes,
Yeah, I get it now.
right. Anyway, back on topic. So like I said, there's lots of people that are like, oh, this is gross. I've never had this before. Ugh. Like, why do you think that there's so much like mystery and like unknown about the anchovy on the pizza?
Okay, first it comes from the sea, which you can't see below, and which causes me great anxiety because I do not want to go in it. Secondly, it's fish, and it's little tiny fish that looks like it's covered in bones. And if you've ever eaten fish and you've gotten fish bones in your mouth, it's truly disgusting and gross. So there, I'll say it. And pizza is the best food on earth, and why would you want to put something gross on the greatest thing on earth?
Yeah, I feel like that basically sums up my whole argument.
I mean, we put
Fish
hit
are weird,
products,
people don't
which
like
is
fish.
like
Done.
grinded up everything, just
But
shit
it
out
looks
on
and tastes like meat.
It
You're like,
looks
I
and
mean,
tastes like a
this
fish.
Now that
This
you've
is
had it
meat.
on
I have
there,
a frame of reference for this meat.
now that you've had it on there, I am a little bit curious about what it would taste like, but I can't honestly say that I would. When I order a pizza, which I do on a regular basis, I'll be putting anchovies on it.
There you go.
I don't like the chanced goodness, you know?
I mean, I don't either. I took a bullet for this episode. Okay.
Hey, we all ate Hot Pockets. We all took a bullet for this shit.
All right. So anyway, if you were to put yourself in Fry's position and your favorite topping had gone extinct through some arbitrary reason because you don't need a reason because it's like a macaroni cartoon, so it doesn't go.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much would you spend if you're like $4.3 billion on whatever that topping is? So I guess we should also know what your favorite topping is.
So we're specifically talking about pizza and not just any food?
Not just any food?
Specifically, pizza topping.
The pepperoni.
Okay.
And I don't know, like the circumstances in the episode are really like that's what causes him to do this, and that's what causes the price to go so high. So everybody should watch the episode because it's fantastic. Just watch the whole series. You'll love it. I promise you. I know this because I've watched it probably like 20 billion times. Not even exaggerating there. It would be pepperoni. And I guess if it was like if it was like a forgotten manuscript on how to make pizza, and I was in 1,000 years into the future, and like there wasn't going to be any other pizza, like the person that was going to get it was going to burn it, and like never give pizza to the free masses of the world ever again.
Let's just presuppose that whatever the topping is would be used for robot oil that would keep robots from needing oil changes for an entire lifetime. There you go. It doesn't matter. Just insert the topping into the exact situation.
Pepperoni.
Yes. Okay. How much would you pay?
I don't know. It's a moral conundrum when you get into this question. I can't talk about this because I love this show and it's hard. So,
as someone who's never watched this show,
$1 jillion.
You've never seen Futurama or what?
I've watched like 2 episodes of Futurama ever.
This is the kid that gives me crap about not watching anything.
I just haven't gotten to it. It's in my queue. I'm gonna watch it. Why is that funny?
Because it's like a 10, 20. Oh, it's like it's so
20-minute episodes. It's so quick. You can literally binge watch the whole series in like a month.
Well, that's what they said about 30 Rock too, and I'm still not done with that. 30 Rock's taking forever.
It's because you were listening to all those podcasts, Taylor.
Excuse me for having a day job. Shots fired. So, having not seen this show and not knowing the internal plot mechanisms of this episode, I would say that my favorite pizza topping is probably banana peppers, and if I had to pay an exorbitant sum to eat them again,
to get 1 jar.
Yeah, 1 jar of them.
I don't feel all that like there's still pizza in existence. I just can't have banana peppers on it.
Exactly.
And
the topping has been erased from humanity except for
and I have $4.2 million.
Billion.
$4.3 billion.
Yeah.
I would spend $1 billion on it.
You're a rich mule farmer. So
I would spend $1 billion on it because I don't feel super strongly about them, but they are my favorite.
Okay. I mean, $1 billion is still a lot of money.
Right, but you still have $3 billion that you could do other stuff
I think Fry ended up paying like $500,000 just for reference, so that's still a lot of money.
God, I love that show. There is like a lot of plot holes in this episode with that because later on, and when they go in later 2 seasons, when they go to the Lost City of Atlantis episode, they have a mandatory fishing license, and Hermes has a bucket of sardines that Zoidberg tastes. There is a couple of Angry Norwegian jokes, which is the brand of sardines that is made later on in the series. If his bank account somehow accumulated from like 70 cents or like $10, how much he had in it, over 1,000 years, and made it to $4.3 billion, you'd have to assume that would be regulated at inflation, so $4.3 billion would still be worth like $10 of today's money.
Well, the problem right off the bat is that after 3 years, your bank account gets closed if there's no activity. So to stop it right there, we're done.
I still don't understand why we're dissecting the plot of this one episode of Futurama.
Because we're going to do MacGyver. We're going to do our own podcast, and we're going to call it Planet SpaceX.
There you go.
Go for it. I will not appear on that show.
You can call it Planet Express.
Planet Space Express. And it's going to be a combination of prog metal and Futurama.
Welcome to Dude's Brunch, where after 24 episodes, 2 of the co-hosts go off on their own and start 2 spin-off podcasts.
We're tired of this crap. We're tired of you bogarting our lives, Taylor.
And my favorite topping is like everything, so I don't really have.
Which one's your favorite? Pick.
Shit.
That's what you get for making stupid faces at the camera.
I don't know. I go through
Thanks,
different
Mom.
revelations every couple months where I'm kind of on like a pineapple kick. I'm also on like
I can dig that.
everything, like a You know, it's got vegetables, got meat, got everything on it. Like way too much shit on it. Pizza, where it just like falls off. What is my favorite?
This is actually a really difficult question.
Viewers, tweet in what your favorite pizza
If
topping is.
only it could be so easy as the niche sardine or anchovy. Sorry,
Yeah, that was kind of my problem. Is like, I like the banana pepper, but I'm not like one of those niche pizza topping. Like, I love it because it's a rare pizza topping type people.
Pepperoni tastes different based on where you get it. There's a whole bunch of different kinds. Yeah, I note this when I go to places.
That's true, yeah.
I guess it would have to be sausage, just for simplicity's sake.
Regular sausage or like the spicy Italian sausage?
Ooh, when you tell me spicy Italian, that makes me more excited about it. But I know I'm not that.
Is this traditional pulled sausage or is this pre-clumped, already made sausage?
Give me just sausage in general, just like a nice sausage.
Okay. We used to have to do that when I worked at Pizza Pogo. We had a log of sausage that we actually had to make little sausage pieces off of by hand,
Just
hand touch, handmade pizzas.
I don't know I don't know if it was 1,000 years in the future. I don't know. I don't know if sausage worth that much to me. See, that's the problem. I wouldn't pay that much. I would, I'd go like 100. I'm not gonna blow a lot of money on that.
$100 or $100 million?
$100. Let's not get too excited now.
There's a bunch of old European ladies that are rolling in their graves right now because you just said sausage was only worth $100.
I mean,
if you love charcuterie and you want to hate on Tyler, at TDR Designs, go to town.
That's right.
I would say I would be on board with whatever the pizza toppings of the 31st century would be.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not picky. I think whatever is the pizza topping of the day, I will try.
Mm. The 31st. Okay, I think it's a good question that we should go down. Once
the 31st century actually would be incorrect.
It would be sausage composed of film from VHSs that was only of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen during the original 2 seasons of Full House. That is artisan 31st century pizza topping right there.
Bob Saget.
Bob Saget indeed.
Anybody else?
Okay.
I mean, I'm on board with it. Let's do it. I mean,
viewers and listeners, tweet in to @DudesBrunch what you think the pizza topping of the 31st century would be.
Just tweet at us. We're so
I'm interested to hear. Catherine,
some rare animal.
Catherine says pepperoni is her favorite pizza topping because she's boring, but she would pay at least $1 million to be gluten again.
Right, she's more about the pizza itself, less about the toppings. At least at this point, because she can't have just regular pizza bread.
Right.
Bread.
Catherine, I feel very, very sad for you, and I wish you the best of luck in earning your gluten back through the power of science.
This is sad.
Radiation's magical. Just kidding, it's not radiation.
Friend of the show, Drew, absolute troll, says vaporwave pizza for the win. Drew, you can't eat vaporwave on pizza. Weird Twitter has destroyed Drew.
I hate lobster, but it works for now. Love it.
All right. Do we have any other notes on pizza, Tyler?
No, we're done. We were done with this topic like at least 5 minutes ago.
I thought so, but we were just beating that horse.
It's okay.
All right.
You gotta beat your meat. It's okay. Whatever. No problem.
Who's next?
Sean, do you want to go next? Or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go next. I'll nerd out for a little bit. Hold on, let me pull up my thing.
Can I just say that I was so happy when your thing was a Radiolab episode? Radiolab. A great podcast to listen to when you're not listening to our podcast.
Yeah. Not as good as ours, but they're getting close. So, once we're nationally syndicated.
Yeah.
Soon. Look out for that.
They'll play us on NPR, right?
Yeah. So, how the backstory to how I found this article, this podcast. They play it on WCPN up here in Cleveland. I was coming home from a bike ride and I was driving back. And as a political scientist, the prisoner's dilemma, which is what we'll talk about, is kind of like a big thing for us because we talk about game theory a lot. Some of us do. So the article on this podcast is actually called "One D Deserves Another," and essentially I had the guys listen to a section. We'll probably post a link to it, I hope, that will give you a little bit of an idea of what prisoner's dilemma is if you haven't taken political science 101 in college or you just haven't investigated the prisoner's dilemma in general. But just like a quick way to do it would be like, let's say, it has to do with cooperation and discooperation. So let's say Taylor and I got arrested because our podcast was too good, and if they took us into different rooms and they asked Taylor to say, like, hey, if you admit that Sean is the worst one on this podcast and you're the best, we'll give you all the royalties and we'll leave Sean out. And if they came into the room and they told me the same thing, and then they told both of us that the other one defected. So Taylor said that he was the best and I was the best, then I wasn't the best, so he would get all the money. Blah 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 blah. Long story short, we'll post a diagram too so you can see how it works. The end of the article talked about how they had these computer programs that they made, and they were just like little bits of code, and they made them play each other round robin style. And the end of the one was that there was a game theory model that just it did whatever you did the time before. So if you cooperated a lot, then it cooperated a lot. And if you were mean to it and you took its points, then it was mean to you. So essentially you could only one up it the first time, and then it would never cooperate again. So essentially what it did was create it wouldn't ever cooperate with you, and in the end you both would be losers because you wouldn't cooperate with it even though it was initially out to cooperate with you. Because the first time it said, like, I'll cooperate, I'll see where this goes, because we both have more to gain from being friends. So, having listened to this with that long and drawn out story that's made no sense, and you'll have to listen to the podcast, you'll have to listen to that podcast, which you should anyway because it's great. I don't know. I guess I want to start with my second question first because I feel like it's actually a better way to start this. What did you guys think about the tit for tat computer model? And do you feel that it kind of like, did it make you feel better about like humanity? Did it make you feel worse about humanity? Did it make you feel anything about humanity? Did you think it was cool?
So can I preface this by asking you a question?
Yeah.
Did you listen to the whole Radiolab episode or just the segment on
I listened to this
theory?
segment and then to the end of this segment.
Okay. The initial part of this episode talks about a mathematician named George Price, who basically figures out the role or lack of a role for altruism in Darwinian evolution. So for people who don't speak college, basically what that means is, according to Darwin, all species survive through survival of the fittest. And what Price wanted to figure out, and what Darwin wanted to figure out, is how are we still nice to each other for some reason, and how are we like compelled to be nice to each other if by the laws of evolution we should all be trying to like kill each other in order to get ahead. And basically what he found is that we are nice to each other because it's advantageous to advancing our gene pool. And if we're placed in a situation where we have to choose between people who have more similar genes to us and random strangers, we will instinctively choose the people who are our relatives. So even our altruism is selfish, which means there's no truly selfless deed like mathematically possible. So going into this story about tit for tat and the prisoner's dilemma, having heard that story and how this revelation like drove the mathematician to quit his job, give all of his money away to the poor, and die in a squatter's house, I don't know how to feel. Like, I'm really conflicted. Because when they're talking about the game theory, they're talking about it in terms of a nuclear apocalypse. And, like, I can understand it in a nuclear apocalypse where you cooperate or you don't cooperate in order to cause the least amount of destruction. But when you're talking about it in this big macro, like, why do we help the poor sense? Why do we help other human beings at all? It just gets so depressing that, like, I don't even know what to think of it, because the idea that helping other people is mathematically impossible is just really confusing to me.
I guess, okay, so I'm just going to kind of take the back for a second, because I don't know, like, the reason I kind of picked this out is because I want to talk about the game component of it and not so much get into the ethical ramifications of talking about whether or not altruism exists and whether you can prove it on a mathematical basis.
Yeah, no, I know that's not where you were going. Right. You're breaking up really bad. Sorry, Sean. Yeah, I didn't want to bring it there. I'm just saying that's the context they give in their report, which is how I approached it. So if listeners go through the whole episode of Radiolab, that's the framing they're going to get, and you do kind of have to separate them. Tyler looks lost.
I'm just trying to find the question that we're trying to get answer.
Sorry,
to.
Sean, can you repeat the question?
Oh, it's how does the outcome of the tit for tat model make you feel? I don't know. Does it like shine kind of a positive light on the way things are? Like that there's actually a hope out there if you can find people that have common interests, as we'll kind of get to in the next round of
Isn't
Taylor's
the whole
topic.
point that we don't know anything about the other person?
Right, but if everybody acted this way, if you could communicate, like even in the prisoner's dilemma, you know each other before you go into the dilemma. It kind of assumes, and two, like this is extremely abstract and like theoretical. So it's like trying to come up with things is easy. I could critique game theory for an entire podcast and more.
Right.
Because I don't really like game theory that much, and I think it's a gross oversimplification of anything. But in terms of like producing games, and this like kind of struck me as maybe we're not, destined to fail. I just thought it would be really interesting to you because you play games a lot, and I know that like I don't know. Whenever I play board games, I'm surprised at how much game theory goes into playing board games.
I mean, because they're games.
Right.
Right.
That's why I thought this would be really kind of interesting. When I saw Taylor's post and I was going researching it, it was nice to see how much like his topic kind of worked well with mine. So.
Foreshadowing.
I guess I'm not understanding the question. So you're talking about the computer program that said that, or that was likely to disagree eventually. Is that what you're talking about?
No. It just reflected your move, like whatever you did the last time. So, like the example that they give in the podcast is they created this like with the Jesus program and the Satan program, and basically the Jesus program just agrees most of the time. So it'll say, yes, I want to agree. I want to play with you. And the Satan one will always say, no, I don't, and I'm going to throw you under the bus. So the tit for tat program essentially, and it's based on points. So every time you agree, you both get a point. Every time you disagree, the person who disagreed with you gets the point.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the Jesus plan was just always give, because maybe you'll find somebody who's really benevolent and feels positive towards you, and they'll figure out your strategy, and you'll both get along and rack up huge points.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the Satan one it's always going to throw you under the bus, and the hope is that it'll just play off your niceness and just keep exploiting your ability your want to be nice. So if you screw tit for tat over, it's going to keep screwing you, and essentially you can't win any points, both of you together, because if you both say no, no one gets any points.
Okay, all right, I gotcha. How does it?
And when they put this in a larger computer model, essentially what it says was like, if you get like one or two of these together, and you write the code so they can reproduce once they get a certain amount of points,
Mm-hmm.
that you actually can get a large contingency of these tit-for-tat bots really quick. And the idea spreads really fast because they're the only ones that will cooperate. As long as they meet up with each other every once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
they'll just keep spawning. Whereas the evil ones, the Satan ones, will never spawn because they never get enough points, even if there's a huge amount of them.
So I think I can jump in on this.
There you go. Sounds like a good idea.
So I think that kind of, like, now that you explain it in that way, it makes sense, right? Like when you explain it as if the tit for tat, the eye for an eye type people keep meeting up rather than the I'm going to give everything and I'm going to take everything people,
Mm-hmm.
they become the majority.
Right.
And I think that's pretty true of human communities, right? Like we don't have all that many sociopaths
Mm-hmm.
and psychopaths because it's more advantageous to not have them at all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They will still exist in these small numbers, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it gives me hope or makes me feel good, but I think it's true to life.
This almost feels a little more philosophical than game design. This is kind of like little Plato-y, you know. It's like it's like the souls. You know, what does our soul say about our position in life?
Yeah.
But
I guess if you were so if you were gonna like, what's your game? What like do you have like a strategy in your operation, Tyler? Do you be nice first, or do you be mean first, and then see how the other person reacts, and then based on that, or you always like do you always try and be a nice person, or do you always like try and pull one over on everybody else?
see, the problem I had with the situation that we were kind of like describing is that it had a level of like morality or like sort of like ourselves involved with it,
Mhm.
like the idea of, oh, I'm really in prison, you know, and I have a decision I have to make, but really it's like just a number game, and it's like, you know, abstraction of reality. I'm not actually in prison. Of course, it's like, you know, I did a quick Wikipedia read of this game, and it seems that it's always better just to portray the other person because it's much easier, or it's much better to get the, I believe it's 2 years, or like, you know, the sentence, if you both betray each other, it's a slightly worse sentence than if you agreed or whatever. Like if or the yes and the no's are like 1 year or 2 years, and it's 3 and then 3.
Right.
Like, so it's almost more advantageous just to betray the other person because the results end up being
Right.
better
You
for
get
both
out.
of you.
Right. You get it. Right.
I would rather roll the dice a lot more often and try to say then betray them than to help them. But I mean, if we're obviously talking about like a human experience, of course I'm going to do my best to make sure that somebody, you know, like I'm as honest as possible, which really shows how much of a big weenie I am. But you know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play it honest. I'd probably play it honest for like 3 rounds and then start rolling the dice.
that sounds about right.
What would you do, Sean?
I like the tit for tat model. I really connected with it. The be nice first, and then judge your next action based on the first reaction. I mean, yeah, it sucks if you're in the real prisoner's dilemma and you're really in this abstract world where you get like thrown under the bus and you're in jail for 3 years. I mean,
Right.
there's only one game right there, but I mean, if it has to do, I guess I wanted to kind of take it out of that context and bring it into
Gotcha.
everyday life. Just because I think that's a better way to talk about game theory than it is to be about like, ooh, this is the actual thought problem. I don't know. That's how I operate at work. Like, I will greet everybody the same as. It doesn't really matter. Like, if you're a billionaire and you come into the store, I don't know who you are, so I'll greet you the same as somebody who is coming in to shoplift, probably, even though even though you're out to rip us off. I don't know. and then see what their initial reaction is. But be benevolent first. I want to help you.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know, when I think about my everyday life and especially my work, that's kind of hard for me to do because I'm interacting with people over the internet most of the day, and so everything they do has this like cultural baggage of the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and so you never really know how people are going to react to that. I guess I'm a little more cautious because I spend so much time online, and I'm much more likely to defect, as they would call it, or mistrust people, just because of the nature of my work and the skepticism.
Mhm.
Now, if I see somebody in person on the street, yeah, I'm much more likely to trust them. But I think interacting with someone online, like I do the majority of the day, every day, I typically mistrust more.
So I don't
Tyler?
know. I think that got my first question a little bit. That's what I was trying to get at.
If we're talking about in general as a sort of like push your luck kind of idea, Chipotle has a really interesting way of dealing with customer complaints in that we typically throw coupons at them until they're happy. So
Burrito pro tip.
yeah, right. But there's a threshold, and so you have to, as a customer that didn't get something correct, there's a threshold in which I'm more willing to give you a coupon. Like, if you're like super nice, you're like, oh, it's no big deal, it's okay, we'll just sit over here, no big deal. I'll be like, you know what, man, I'm really sorry about that. Here, have a coupon. You know, I'm like, absolutely. You know, but if you're like, and then if you're on the other side of the spectrum, you're like just furious. You know, I'm like, here, don't kill me, have a coupon. So, you know, I'm really sorry, sir. I'm sorry that happened. I like how the good one's always the ma'am and the bad one's always the sir. That's funny. But there's sort of like the gray zone of people that just get bad customer service experience, and I have to be kind of like, is it worth handing out a coupon to them? You know, those could be represented as those in-betweeners, the indeciders. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say that it's better to be happy, so tell the truth, than to betray the person in my line of work. Then.
That's fair.
Yeah. Actually, it's better to just yeah. I would say that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that has a lot to do with us too, the way that we treat the customers. So how we build the customer's relationship with the brand has a lot to do with how our interactions are in person.
Mm-hmm.
So, and our honesty with the customer, like if they look bad in something and they ask my opinion, I'm not going to lie to them and say like, no, you look great. Those are the best thing I've ever seen on anybody. No, like I'll be upfront. I'll be like, here, let me find you something else that might be a better fit for you. Say it in like a nice, calm, polite way. And generally people are really accepting once you say that, you know, like I'm surprised how many people think I work on commission, which
Do they ask you, do you work on commission?
no, but you can tell when they think it, like, because if you go in any other store in our mall, you might get greeted, but like we kind of have a culture in our store because we're the upper brand of Gap to be like, go up and talk to you and like see if we can help you in any way, if there's like any recommendations we can make or something like that, and I think that's more of like a commission salesman kind of thing.
Yeah, it definitely
often
gives off that vibe.
often people, when they go to the register, they're like, he helped me with that, or she helped me with that, so they need to get the commission. And you're like, we're not paying on commission, and they're like shocked, like, what? Then why are you so nice to people? And it's like, because you'll come back.
Oh.
Or you'll fill out a survey, and I'll get like a good recommendation by my boss for doing something right, and maybe I'll get more hours.
Hey, what up?
So Catherine says, being nice is good to start with because you can always get aggressive or petty, but people will mistrust the reverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. If you're the jerk at the beginning, you're a jerk till the end.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Okay, let's just go on a different topic.
seriously, people need to listen to this Radiolab story and just Radiolab in general. I walk away from every episode of that show just thinking about things for a really long time. So this is a fun topic for me to mull over today. Thank you, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You don't sound so excited.
No, it's all right.
All right, well, we got one more topic for you tonight, and this is a bit of a throwback this week. We're going to throw it all the way back to the very beginning of internet video and talk about arguably the most important creative person of the early internet, Zay Frank.
Al Gore. Damn.
So I'm gonna ask the panel, but I want people to tweet in as well. Before just now, or you guys doing the research for the show, did you know who Zay Frank was and how important he was?
No.
You had no idea who he was or anything?
No.
Tyler?
I know who he is.
You did or did not?
I did. Taylor, you know I know who Zay Frank is.
Well, when did you learn who Zay Frank is?
I think it's when he started the Kickstarter. I think did he start Kickstarter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the new show is Zay Frank.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I knew who he was.
That's also when I got on board.
So
I think from like a Vlogbrothers video or something where they said you should go support Zay Frank's Kickstarter. So for those who aren't familiar, Zay Frank was one of the first people to actually create content for YouTube. I don't know if some of the youngins out in our audience looking at you, Nathan, you remember the very early days of YouTube where it was almost all videos of people's kids and then stuff ripped from TV. So like Family Guy clips and Simpsons clips and American Idol performances. You guys remember that part of YouTube. Stupid stuff that was on the local news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Zay Frank was one of the first people to actually create something consistently for YouTube. It was called The Show with Zay Frank. And it started out as just every day him reading the news to you. And he would read you the New York Times front page and discuss the war on terror and George Bush's presidency. And at the end of every episode, he would say, "This is Zay Frank thinking, so you don't have to." That kind of went away. It went less Daily Show and more the internet as we know it today. He started calling his fans sports racers. Every sports racer had their own power move. And I sent the guys some videos, I'll put some links in the description, where each episode he would feature a different sports racer's power move. And it just kept getting stranger. He did a TED Talk. He made the world's first Earth sandwich, where they found 2 points on the globe where there's dry land directly across from each other and put down pieces of bread. They just did all sorts of weird, experimental, crazy stuff. And so before we get into his later career, I wanted to know, what were your guys' first impressions of Zay Frank? How did he come across to you? And did that change over time?
I liked him. I watched the first episode, and then I kind of went through and watched a couple of the other 2-minute episodes from the original show. And I thought it was pretty funny, not just because I'm into political stuff and news, but like even the way that he did like the cinematography on his stuff was kind of funny. How it's like kind of like right up in his face, or it's like on the computer and it's still kind of nitty. Like he just had like it was like a good throwback, I think, to what YouTube used to be. And because that's what it was, and it was just like a handheld camera, bad focus. Here's the computer.
Yeah, he's literally pointing the camera at the computer screen.
Right, but it was really funny. It's just, I liked it. I thought it didn't change over time. And the more that I started watching it, the more I thought it was funny. I liked True Facts. True Facts is hilarious.
Tyler?
Strongly disagree, but that's okay.
Tyler's not a True Facts fan. But
no.
What was your first impression? Do you remember?
It was bad, then good, then bad, then presumably good again. So obviously how the first hurdle to get over with Zay Frank is that he never blinks. So that right off the bat is alienating to lots of people that are like, that's weird, I don't like that. But so that was like the bad. But at the same time I was like, oh, okay, all right, I get what he's doing. I mean, he's saying funny things and he's making a lot of like interesting points about things. So I kept watching, and eventually the eyeball thing, eventually kind of grew on me, and I appreciated it. And then I got to have the great experience of showing other people his videos, and they're like, his eyeballs are weird, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's sort of the charm.
Which is the worst thing to try to explain to people who aren't from the internet. They're like, who is this guy? Why does he not blink?
Right. So, but then he started doing that stuff with BuzzFeed where he did lots of real true facts about animals, and I was kind of like, I don't really care anymore about this. So I kind of fell off the boat, and now like BuzzFeed kind of makes some good stuff sometimes, only in video content, but not like on their website. So I'm like, okay, I guess it's all right then.
Yeah, so Zay Frank is currently the VP of Video at BuzzFeed. But talking about his career a little bit, so he did the show and it became vastly popular, and a lot of people who are now very famous started their YouTube channels because they were fans of the show. So people like John and Hank Green, or Charlie McDonnell, Alex Day, Craig Benzine, who runs the channel Wheezy Waiter, Tyler Oakley, Michael Buckley from What the Buck. A lot of people who are famous on YouTube or who have moved from YouTube into other media started doing internet video because of Zay Frank. And so then he did a series of TED Talks, and in 2011, right, Tyler?
Sounds about right.
He came out on Kickstarter and said he wanted to do another show, and that became A Show with Zay Frank, which also ran for a year. And towards the end of A Show, he started doing these videos called True Facts, which we talked about a little bit, where he said true, but not actually true facts about things ranging from animals to Morgan Freeman. And BuzzFeed caught onto those as he was finishing off a show, and they hired him to be in charge of video. And so my next question is, how much of his career do you think is based on serendipity or this just being the early days of the internet, and how much do you think it is him being this kind of uniquely creative Dr. Frankenstein person?
I actually wouldn't mind seeing his resume. I don't know. Part of me feels like I don't really know if it was just serendipity that got him this job. I mean, I don't know how social media hiring operates, but I can't imagine that it was just watching his channel and they're like, come on, buddy, come on down. I got a job for you. Like, something tells me that he probably had to do something else.
Well, you can obviously tell he's an educated individual, and he probably spent a lot of time and a lot of money probably at some school that was important.
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, we should actually check that out right now.
I'm doing it.
Because, I mean, you don't just get, like, that sort of, like, pseudo-philosophical without, like, really reading, like, a lot of books or just,
He has a BS in neuroscience from Brown.
Close enough.
And he published some papers on neuroscience, and from there he just started creating things for the internet. In 2001, this is in his first TED Talk, which we'll link. In 2001, he created an online birthday invitation using Flash, and he sent it to a bunch of his friends, and it went the early version of viral, and basically crashed his personal website. And so from there, he started doing more and more web experiments that became The Show in 2006, and then A Show came out in 2012. So the internet thing was kind of just a hobby for him, and he was like researching neuroscience at the time.
Right.
I think part of it is how early in the internet this happened. I can't imagine, I mean, YouTube launched basically, I think his show started within a year of YouTube launching. So I think part of it was probably just like early movers advantage. but he does just have this really weird way of thinking about things and approaching things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a point where he has people mail in or send in voicemails of times that they feel alone, and then he chops up all of the sounds from those voicemails and sends them to a musician who makes a song out of them. And then he gave everyone a set of choreographed dance moves to do in front of their webcams, and he overlaid all of the footage on top of each other like a giant window thing. And so you're watching 100 or so people doing these dance moves in weird, opaque ways on top of each other over this song that's made out of all of their voices. Like, that's not something that normal people think of doing.
See, this reminds me, that just sounds like something one of my friends would do. I'm sure we all know.
Yeah, I mean, it's an art school type of thing, but...
It definitely sounds like someone that has, like, obviously he went to school for, like, neuroscience, but, you just know, like, a person that just has, like, that creative, like stuff inside of them. And it doesn't necessarily, like, and that's almost sort of the trouble with being creativity in general, and art and music and whatever, is that it's really hard to manifest it in a way that feels fulfilling for you if it's not, like, literally drawing a person that looks exactly how they are in real life. Like, there's a lot of ways you can interpret and create things that are interesting and unique and provide an experience for a person that doesn't involve traditional ways of expression. So it's like, if you can latch onto that, if you can harness what the ideas are, like, soon, and you're like, you can put it to paper and you can really like fully realize the idea, then that's how great things happen. So it's clear that Ze Frank is a creative and interesting person, and he just happened to find the right thing to do at the time that got him popular. So,
Do you have a thought on that, Sean? That seems like the sort of statement you'd have a thought.
I think Tyler's on a good direction there.
So one of the things that he's most famous for is this video called Brain Crack. I know Tyler's seen this. Did you watch that, Sean?
Which one was it?
It's called Brain Crack.
Is that the TED one?
No, it's just an episode of the show.
No, I don't think I saw it then.
So Brain Crack is this idea that you are working on something and you're like brainstorming about it and you're thinking about it in your head, and you get so addicted to the idealized version of that thing that you have in your head that you never finish the project, and it just sits in your brain like half complete while you're thinking of the best possible version of it, and that's completely worthless. And so he calls that brain crack, where you just become addicted to ideas. And I've always thought of that as like a really interesting push for me, because this show to a certain extent was brain crack for a really long time. Like, we had multiple different versions of this show with different panelists before we finally settled on this group, and we were trying to figure out different ways of recording it, and eventually I just had to say, you know what, we're going to start this, and if it goes poorly, it goes poorly. Is that, like, this is off topic a little bit, but do you guys experience brain crack? Is that a thing that, like,
oh, of course,
you struggle with?
Of course.
I mean, how do you deal with that as creative people?
I don't. I don't necessarily think acting on all your ideas is necessarily a bad thing. Like, I think it's all right to think about stuff, and
but if you keep bringing yourself back to it, then I think that's the problem.
Right. I mean, like, not all of my ideas are ideas that should be acted out upon. Like, I read a lot of philosophy and political science, so until I figure out some way to, like, have a computer model or something where I can actually put some of those theories to the test, the only thing I can think about them is in my brain. So that's like write about it. I can make a GOP bracket, but it won't make it any more right. It's just...
But you will predict that Trump will be a third-party candidate.
There are big disclaimers on that you have to
and will win the election and will cause the downfall of the United States as we know it.
Yeah, we know that to be a true fact that will happen in the future.
Real true facts.
Tyler, how do you deal with brain crack?
Do it. Just do the thing. Self-loathing a lot. It's do it. Do it. And I do it eventually, or not. Usually, I end up doing it, and it looks like complete garbage, and then I usually just shelf it for a while, and then I'll bring it back out, or not.
There it is.
It's better to put something down and then just push it away for a while and then come back to it later than to just keep it in your brain forever.
So let's do this then. We're going a little bit off topic, but I don't really like my last question anyway.
Whoa.
Brain crack. We've explained what it is. We've talked a little bit about it. Let's right now on the show, people can tweet in their answers. Maybe we'll storify them later. What is a current brain crack thing in your head that you think you can commit to start on this week?
Sean doesn't play video games.
Tell the audience what that is.
Sean Doesn't Play Video Games is a podcast about Sean not playing video games. As the running joke of this podcast, Sean doesn't play video games. And so what this new show aims to do is to get him to play more games. It's going to start off as a sort of like timeline of indie game history, and will eventually evolve into a let's just throw some indie games in there. Let's see like what's the newest game that's kind of coming out that's getting some buzz. Specifically indie games because I think that they're low barrier to entry, usually very cheap. Usually have a lot more like they're a lot more heartfelt, a little bit more like interesting. You know, we'll have a little more like artistic integrity. It's not just like always brutal realism all the time. And you know, I think that that's an interesting perspective for someone that hasn't played a lot of video games to kind of go through. Is to kind of go through this sequential timeline of games and then kind of push out into where we are, which is this really vast void of lots of different kind of games that go in all different directions.
So how are you going to start on that this week?
Well, I already Logo's kind of finished, mostly finished, and then I'm starting up the socials, and then I'm gonna solidify the game list this week probably. The game.
So we can expect first episode of Sean Doesn't Play Video Games next month, maybe?
We can call it that. We'll say next month. Sounds good.
Awesome. Sean, what's your brain crack right now?
It's brain crack that I'm not going to act on because most of my brain crack is actually just to humor myself. And it was one that I came up with tonight when I was eating dinner. It's called steak, and it's actually cake on a stick, similar to that Starbucks have, except for it's my new invention, similar to Making Memories for those of you who are on the show and have heard the story. Because I figured that nobody eats cake anymore. You know, like if you get a cake, nobody really eats it. And then the next great invention was the cupcakery, which has been a stunningly amazing failure. And you can charge more for less cake, which is fantastic. So I want to capitalize on that and have something that's so good that you can put it on a stick and have it be cake, but smaller than a cupcake, and you can charge more money for it because it's on a stick. And when you combine stick and cake, you come up with steak. So,
you're right. That's something you probably shouldn't start, but that's certainly a nice idea.
See? Is it going anywhere? No way.
I don't think that's really what the
Yeah, I was hoping for one of your creative endeavors, but I'll accept steak.
I don't know. I have other things to do this, so.
Cop out. So my brain crack at the moment is actually also a podcast. Tyler and I are doing this whole spin-off thing right now for some reason. We're on this jive. Tyler and I came up with this idea a while back for a show called Forced Fandom, where we make people who don't like the things we like watch them with us. And I want to commit to getting a set of guests lined up and do a short run of Forced Fandom, like by the end of 2015. So hopefully look forward to that, and maybe Tyler will have to design another logo.
Yeah, just kidding. Actually, this show keeps me in business, and by business I mean keeps me from killing myself.
Yep. Welcome to the millennial reality.
Yeah!
It's a good thing we're not sorted as a comedy podcast.
Yeah.
We're a music show.
Kids, you don't need to call a suicide watch. I'm okay.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your favorite part of the show, Shameless Plugs.
Hey, what up?
Tyler, do you have any shameless plugs for us this week?
All right, we got good ones this week. All right, you can follow Sean Doesn't Play at Twitter. Shit. My newly formed Twitter account for Sean Doesn't Play video games.
Sean doesn't play.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot different of a podcast than. It sounds like a street fighting thing.
That's okay.
Sean don't play.
Sean Doesn't Play. At twitter.com. And you can find me at the usuals. You can find me TDR Design on Twitter. TDRdesign.tumblr.com. That's it. You don't need to know anything else. Tumblr and Twitter, that's really it. You don't even need to know Tumblr. Fuck it. Just TDR Design on Twitter. Get it.
Sean, shameless plugs?
Check me out on Twitter at Evans_AmUrge, URGE. My Meerkat will probably be going back up here again pretty soon. I was listening to an audiobook a lot this week, and due to copyright infringements, I am not allowed to do that. Not that I've been sought after by the law, but I just don't want to go down that direction.
Does that count?
I'm already broke. Yeah, it's like explicitly in any way, period. You can't rebroadcast that stuff. So I don't even know. I don't know. It feels like we should need to talk about that again. That article we talked about, like live streaming sports events and stuff like that, and how they're really cracking down on that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of copyright issues coming out of Meerkat and Periscope right now. We can maybe bring that up on a future show.
Yeah. So that I'm just being cautious about that because I don't really want to. I don't want to be the example. Other than that, shameless plugs. I read a really good book this week on the top 100 infographics for 2014. That had a little edited by Nate Silver, who is a pretty good statistician. That was really interesting. That's about it. So.
I like Nate Silver.
He does good stats.
Yeah. Shameless plugs from me. You can follow me on Twitter at TC Olmstead as on the screen. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Dudes Brunch. You can view the show notes for this episode and every episode, along with original content, including Sean's March Madness style bracket for the GOP debates.
GOP bracket. Check it out, kids.
Yeah, that'll be up on the website probably right after this show goes live. So
do you want me to give a little introduction or something?
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you give a little introduction?
Okay, so the idea started when I was driving home one day. I was talking to Taylor on Meerkat and said, like, wouldn't it be funny to do a GOP bracket? I think it was actually the night of the debates. So I made a little GOP bracket, a big disclaimer that is backed up. I underlined this many times in the article. I stated actually twice explicitly that there is no actual solid qualitative or quantitative analysis. So don't like try and bash me and say like, oh, you're wrong, because I probably am, and this methodologically unsound. And I also make disclaimer
because he wrote it while he was drinking.
Right. Well, yeah, that night I was. But man, that sounds like I was drinking while I was driving when I wasn't. It was because I wrote it a couple days later, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, I don't know. I tried to add some news articles and some tweets and some funny GIFs in there, some GIFs. Sorry, Catherine.
Uh-oh.
Just that's where my Twitter hate's gonna come from, right there. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, it's funny." So yeah, check it out.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah, so that'll be on the website. If you haven't been to the website yet, you should check it out. There's lots of stuff there, including our shirts. Well, what? Nobody's bought a Dudes Brunch shirt yet, and I'm about to buy one.
Yes.
So if you buy one, we can look the same.
We can look the same.
How cool would that be? Until next time, we're going to have more brunch, more pop culture, and more podcast next week. So we'll see everybody then. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.